excited about this work, and for me, it's a great opportunity to share these bits of insight, these bits of research, these bits of tools and techniques that Mike Cooper, my business partner, I've collected now over 10 years. And our constant theme is how can we get the most in the shortest possible time, where, as you know, there's not a lot of time often for change. There's not a lot of time to have patience to be able to slowly make progress. Unfortunately, that's not what business wants. They don't say, we want some slow change, please. They say something different. So in terms of this talk, I want to share a little bit about the theme of talent. What is talent? So that you can all have a shared understanding of what I think about talent in terms of how I think about it, and Raising Talent thinks about talent. Also from there, what are the key principles that you need to know and understand to make more informed decisions about talent? So if you really understand what it is, then it becomes a lot easier to know how to manage it, and how to accelerate it, and how to develop it, and how to support it. And lastly, I want to share with you some tools that you can, from today, from right now. In fact, in this session, we'll have a chance to do a really powerful and exciting exercise that from today you can have experience of some of these talent acceleration tools that you can take back to your homes, to your families, to your schools, to your clubs, to your communities, to your businesses, to whatever's important for you. So I'm very excited to share this content, and for me it's a massive honor to be here. So thank you so much for the opportunity. In terms of talent itself, if you look at this picture here, you can barely make it out, but it's a black and white photo of an amazing scene. You can see there's possibly a bit of beauty there. It's a beach scene where you might even imagine walking there with your feet, and your feet kind of sink slowly into the sand, and maybe there's a bit of moisture, and you have that relaxation experience when you're in scenes like this. Maybe there's a family member there, maybe a loved one. And as you connect with this scene, it's kind of how I think about talent and performance, where we romanticize it. We have a picture of what it is, and we think because there's quite a lot of detail, we've got the full picture. And unfortunately, it's not true. As Daniel Coyle, one of the thinkers and the key thinkers in high performance, says, when it comes to Ferraris, if you think all it takes is a couple of Italians, a little bit of steel, and some red paint to make Ferraris, you're missing some of the point. So normally what people say when it comes to success, we need hard work, we need team, we need goals. Yes, but that won't necessarily get you the same kinds of success. We need a bigger and a more informed picture. We need this. We need that extra level of detail, that extra color to what's actually going on, how things are actually working, so that when you look at what talent or performance is, you're more informed to make better choices, make better decisions, and get more performance. We need to really understand what's going on here. And so to understand that neurosemantics is a wonderful set of models and tools to do that. And so I'd like to start the ball rolling around how to understand talent more effectively. Now some of you, and I'm hoping all of you, have seen this model during the week. It's the cornerstone of neurosemantics, how meaning and performance combine. But let's just do a bit of a test. This is the way that I think about this model. If you have how meaning for something, you tend to like or enjoy it. So I'm going to ask you guys from the audience, and you can shout out, what is the order? Do you like something first and then become good at it? Or are you good at something first and then like it? Which one comes first for you? You like it, and therefore you're good at it. Is that true for everyone? Just check. Not necessarily. So not all the time, just in general as a principle, maybe sometimes you're good at something and then grow to like it. Let's ask it differently. The things you're not good at, do you not enjoy and therefore not good at them, or do you not, or if you don't enjoy them, are you not good at it? Which one comes first there? If you don't like it, are you bad at it? Or because you're bad at it, don't you like it? Because you're bad, you don't want to do that again. Does anyone here love doing their tax returns? Absolutely, absolutely. So for the guys who struggle with tax returns, I'm one of them. I don't love doing my tax returns and it shows up in my poor performance. I get those letters saying you have 1 month to go, you have 2 weeks to go, you have 1 week to go, and that was your deadline was being passed. I'm that guy when it comes to tax, because the meetings I have don't allow me, don't support me getting better at the performance. So this is really a key principle, because most of change, most of development outside of neurosemantics is just here. It's a new tactic, a new strategy, a new style, a new model, a new process, a new discussion, a new. but how much of it is actually in there first? So if we go for time management, we try to be better at time, but we've got these problems on the inside that affect our time. So when you ask someone who battles with time, it's normally a situation of something else other than time. It's about not saying no. It's about not prioritizing. It's something else going on, but the symptom is I can't manage time. So the challenge in school, and if you think about yourself, when you were in school, maybe it's a few years ago, maybe it's many years ago, were your best subjects in terms of performance your favorite subjects? Yet for the subjects you battled with, for me it was Afrikaans, the South African second language. I didn't like Afrikaans and I was really poor at doing it. And I'll tell you why, is when I was in my third year of school, we had a wonderful teacher called Miss Holiday, and she was smiley and she was happy, and I always remember she smelled really good. I don't know if that's a strange thing to remember a teacher by, but she smelled really good. And we had a wonderful Afrikaans lesson once a week where we got to colour in pictures of Afrikaans animals. And I thought, wow, this is a wonderful language because all you do is colour in. You know, why does everyone get upset about learning a new language? This is so easy. And the reason why we coloured in pictures of Afrikaans animals is because my teacher knew as much about Afrikaans as I did. We were both really poor together, and that was her way out, is I'm going to teach you how to colour it instead. So I thought this was wonderful. Until one day she got sick. And now all of a sudden we got invited to go to another teacher's classroom. And when I arrived there, and I was initially confused because we obviously had two classes in one classroom now, and I was looking around, why isn't anyone colouring in? Where are the crayons? Why is everyone looking so serious in this class? What's going on that you're having that experience? And it was a bit of a light bulb for me because I realized something different was happening. And being one of the kind of the leaders in my classroom, I got called up to the front to demonstrate my skills in the new vocabulary of Afrikaans. We were dealing with greetings then, and specifically how to greet a senior person, a respected person, very respectfully. Kan ek vir jou praat? A bit of Afrikaans there. And I didn't know what was going on, and the teacher was saying to me, please greet me respectfully, but I go, nah, 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 nah. And she got angrier, and angrier, and angrier, and angrier, and angrier, until eventually she shouted something at me which I still don't understand what she said. And I was horrified. This is not what I was expecting. Where's the pictures? Where's the fun? And I don't know, being up in front of class and having those 40 kids laugh at me and the teacher shout at me, I don't know if I wet my pants that day. But I might as well. It was such a horrible experience for me, and that my Afrikaans days were done. Also, another problem is the Afrikaans girls in my school were bigger than me and they used to punch me. So that was also quite a scary thing. So my two experiences of Afrikaans was, we don't colour in pictures, we get shouted at, and you get beaten up by girls. So you can imagine what's going on inside here when it comes to Afrikaans. Not so good. The irony is in 3 months' time I'm getting married to an Afrikaans woman. So I'm much more motivated to learn the language now, although the words that I've learned are not always appropriate for public consumption. So I had to work hard to change my meaning, because those were old meanings, they were meanings from long ago, but they were still, I carried them with me like I do a backpack. It was such a significant experience, I carried it with me wherever I went, until I used the skills of coaching to let it go and decide again. And when I decided again, it was a lot easier, and it's still a lot easier now as I do my studies, as I go through my textbooks to improve my language, because now there's a purpose, there's a reason, there's inspiration. Now I want to be in a home where both of us can raise a bilingual boy or girl. And what a great gift to give him or her as they go into the world. So much more empowering meanings, and I've got rid of the junk that kept me down there. But let's just check for you guys, have any of you had a teacher ruin a subject for you, if you're going to raise your hand in the room? Anyone had a teacher that ruins a subject for you? That they just... So maybe a better question is, anyone not had a teacher who's ruined a subject for them? And so this is the problem, is we carry around these backpacks of baggage with us about subjects. Maybe it's about not just academics, or in my case language. Maybe it's about maths. Maybe it's about business. Maybe it's about relationships. Has everyone here only had wonderful relationships in their life? No hands raised there either. Life happens, and unfortunately what happens is sometimes we make the meanings from that experience that becomes the block for where we want to go. So if your meanings drop you down here, even if you've got the skills to perform there, it actually doesn't matter. it actually doesn't matter because you're stopping yourself, you're working against yourself, you're limiting yourself. Have any of you had that experience where you feel that you're holding yourself back? And you know you can have more. You can have more money, you can have more love, you can have more warmth, you can have more relationship, you can have more friendship, you can have more performance, but you don't. Again. And this pattern repeats again and again and again over a period of time. And some people even call that pattern life. And for me, it's so sad that people are locked in that cycle. And for me, I've been locked in that cycle. And as I work in it, I get myself more and more out of it. Because what if your meetings were actually the leverage point? What if your meetings were actually so empowering that they led your performance? Would the light come on then? So this is the Muhammad Ali approach. He used to shout, "I am the greatest," long before he ever was. He was rubbish and he was saying that. But he trained so hard, he worked so hard, that he was able to develop his skills to that level. So instead of faking it until he made it, he believed it until he made it. And that's a really important principle, because if you know how to do that, if you know how to believe it, then it's just a process of strategy, technique, time, and lessons. So if you could believe you could have a multi-million-dollar business, and there's nothing in the way, there's no fears or anxieties or doubts about it, then you've got the inside sorted. Then it's just, who's great at business? Who can I learn from? What are their processes? What are their systems? What are their strategies? If you could believe you could have a loving, engaging, warm relationship, then what's the skills of relationship you need to learn, and maybe even the partner to find to be able to fulfill that? If you could believe you could be really healthy, and just no doubts about your ability to be healthy and strong and vibrant and full of vitality, once you've got that, you won't be working against yourself as you develop the performance of doing that. And so for me, the Raising Talent system is a lot about how to do that. How to get yourself out of the way to believe at another level what's possible, remove the doubt, and then be really smart at finding the process to get you there as efficiently as possible. Would you like to know more about how to do that?
Yes.
Will that be worth your time?
Yes.
Fantastic. So first, a metaphor. For me, talent's like a marathon. So if you look at the dictionary about what talent's defined as, it's defined as an innate skill or ability. But that doesn't make sense, because I know no baby whose first words are like an amazing Oscar award-winning speech. I know no child whose first footstep is to the net to do a wonderful half volley. They don't start out that way, they get there. They get there over time, and what happens is they get there quicker than most, and they go further than most. They run a better race, the talented individuals that we know, specifically in sport and in other areas of our life. But why do they do that? How come some people run further and others not so much? So a woman called Catherine Benziger, she speaks about talent as being brain optimization. So she's developed a series of scans and techniques and questionnaires that divides the brain into 4 quadrants, and her hypothesis is if you have an efficient quadrant, that is related to different types of intelligences and skills that have been mapped out by Daniel Goleman and others. So for example, your top left quadrant might really help you develop the skills of harmonizing, either musically or in connection with someone else. Your bottom quadrant might be able to help you develop strategy and structure, and you have strategic kinds of thinking. And her hypothesis is that because that quadrant is so efficient, in fact, you use 1/100th of the energy per second less in that quadrant than any other. That's why it's easier when you use that quadrant. That's why it looks graceful, that's why it looks smooth when someone is playing to their strength. Does that make sense if you think about the people you know, just so smooth and just, this looks easy the way they learn how to do a language or a skill or a sport or a speech. It's just like, what? Why am I working so hard when that guy or that girl's just got it going on? What's wrong with me? Is sometimes the question that's asked. What's happened is they're just tucking into the efficiency. But there's another problem though, because now there are people in life and in sport and in business who have achieved a lot, but they were rubbish in the beginning. They were so poor. Jackson Pollock is a great example of, one of the iconic artists in America in the 21st century. And what happened when he started out, they said this guy was so poor. It's like they've seen kids' drawings look more engaging and exciting and creative than his stuff. And they said, how can that guy 20 years later be an icon? And they said about Jackson Pollock, he was wildly in love with the idea of being an artist. He was so in love, he was just passionate about it, he lived it, he breathed the identity, and he was so passionate about it that he could find people to mentor him. So he went around America and even around the world, who's the best sculptor? And I'm going to really inspire this person with my passion. And the guy was like, listen, this guy's really rubbish, but let me humor him, he's quite fun to have around, he makes nice tea and coffee. You know, he's not a bad sort, and he's quite fun and engaging. Let me teach him a few things. And over a year or two, Jackson got what the guy was teaching. Then he went to the next expert, and the next expert, and the next expert. And after a while, having learned the performance, he started creating his own unique, vibrant, distinctive work. He was wildly in love. He was so wildly in love with the idea of being an artist, it actually didn't matter. He didn't have the efficiency to start it with. So if you think what metastates is about when your meaning gets so high, when your purpose is so big, there's energy there to keep on pursuing. Meaning, performance together, energy plus skills and competence together, that synergy equals high performance or self-actualization. So what if Jackson Pollock, his meanings were so strong it didn't matter that he was using the inefficient part of his brain. He got his energy from the inside. What if that was going on? And for me, that's the hypothesis, is that when you love something so much, even if you're not that good at it, it actually doesn't matter. It helps you get back in the race. How far you can go, that we don't know. That's very hard to predict. Some people tend to have long marathon races, others quite short. But a key piece is if you love what you do. So when I speak to parents, they say, look, I don't know if my son should play this sport or that sport or do this or do that. I ask the question, well, what do they love? Because you'll get so much more from that experience of pursuing what you love. And I think one of the number one responsibilities of parents is to help their children find something they can fall in love with. And to nurture that love. And really just help them have a great experience, not just if it's a tennis game, not just at the tennis court, but on the way to the tennis game. In the car, they must play their music. They must go for pizza afterwards. Everyone loves pizza. It's a great fun food to have. Not so good in the tummy, but fun food to have. And if you have a great experience, you'll want more. And if it's on their terms, they want more and more. So eventually they're so in love, they want to be the best they can be at it. But that can't be rushed. That can't be pushed. In the 1980s, there's a Canadian sports psychologist called Roger Barnsley. And he was watching ice hockey in a place called Medicine Hat in Canada. And what happened is, his wife kind of nudged him and said, have a look at the program over here. Look at the birth dates of these kids playing both on our side and on the side of the baddies. And what they noticed in the program, most of those kids were born in January, February, and March. And they thought, well, is this someone just getting lazy, copying and pasting when they did the program? Is this some sort of peculiar freak thing? Or is this some sort of trend? Is there a correlation between birth dates and ice hockey? And they started an exhaustive study, Roger, his wife, and a colleague, where they reviewed and interviewed people at all levels of elite ice hockey in Canada to find out, is there one month, or is there months that are more dominant in terms of elite ice hockey performance than others? And what they found was this. There was 1 month that most Canadian elite ice hockey players are born in, and that month was January. The second most populous month, February. The third most populous month, March. In fact, 40% of all elite ice hockey players was born in the first quarter of the year. 30% in the next quarter, 20% in the quarter after that, and the poor buggers born around Christmas. Only 10% of them made it all the way through. But think about that for a moment. If you're born in the last quarter of the year, in terms of ice hockey in Canada, only 10% have you a chance to make it to the elite level. But why is that? Why do you think that is? It comes down to what is talent. So how do we know? Because a 6-year-old playing ice hockey is pretty rubbish. I don't know if you've watched much ice hockey, but a 6-year-old playing any sport is normally pretty rubbish. There's a ball or a puck or something and everyone crowds around it. And they move up and down the field and they have the most wonderful time. It's one of the most amazing things to watch. So not very skillful. From a talent point of view, they don't have it. But yet something about them says they do. So how do we find out if they're great? Well, we get all the 6-year-olds and we line them up. And we say, you guys are all 6 years old. Let's see how far you can run. And the guy who can run the furthest is the best. Let's see how fast you can go. The guy who's the fastest is the best. Let's see how well you control the puck. The guy who's got the best control is the best. But we actually don't line up all 6-year-olds. We line up all people of that age group. We line up under 7s. We categorize groups by year. So now I'm 6 born in January, 6 born in March, 6 born in October, November, 8 or 9 months. At that age, you buy new clothes.
So now those kids have more skill, more muscle coordination, more confidence, more coordination, and I'm being compared to them. And I'm going to lose out simply because I'm back in the race. I haven't got there yet. I'm 6 months behind, just from a birthday point of view. So, a couple of things happen. These kids get identified as being talent. They get put into teams. You guys are the A side, the first side. You guys are the young superstars. You're going to be amazing. You are amazing. You got it. You have this ability. And what happens was these guys play against other guys who selected like that in other regions. So now I have the belief I can do it, and I'm getting a high level of practice because I'm playing with kids who will push me, who are just like me but in a different region or district. You multiply that over year, over year, over year, over year, and now they become elite ice hockey players. With these guys, and if you look at the details, the data, when they make it through, it's that they have very strong parents. Or they've got brothers or sisters that allow them to practice at that level. Because they get excluded from the elite level practice. So often what we think of talent is actually maturity. So think about school, you got classified into school years, right? But now, maybe I'm not so good at my second language because I'm just 8 months behind someone who is. And worse than that, because they're so good, I start to believe I'm rubbish at this. So I don't need a battle-axe teacher to give me a horrible experience for me to lose my skills. I just judge myself. And when the teacher says, listen, here's all the A's, well done, you're great, I'd love you to do some more maths homework because you're really a star. It's an E, but we're lucky to get an E. Don't do any extra work because you really don't have what they do. Have you been in classrooms like that? So what happens is it gets locked in a belief at an early age. And if you do that, your race is over. Instead of keeping on going and catching up, you believe you can't, so you're right. Every time I go home, I have to teach my parents how to use the DVD player. We're on Blu-ray, people. We're on Bluetooth, we're on iPads, we're on Apple, we're on iPhones. But long ago, my parents decided, technology is not for me, and they ended that race. So here's the principle of talent. Whether you believe you can't, you're probably right. But if you believe you can, you might be right. You've got to be in it to win it. But what happens is these ideas are often given in the form of a dream. So kids have dreams where they say things like, one day I want to play for my national side. And right now they may be one of these kids or they're far away and they're hoping that one day that they'll get there and the coach or the teacher or the parent says, listen mate, there's not a chance. You are wasting your time. Try something else. Try a different sport. Try a different discipline. You have no chance of doing that. Get on your bike. But what happens is that kid loses his possibility of that and he goes there, but he might lose that possibility for all of his dreams. He might only have the courage to dream about one thing. About sport, about music, about being an actor. That's his only dream he's got in his life. The only place that he can see a big vision, a big future for himself. And when good-meaning and kind-hearted coaches who want to be real say, listen mate, the reason why you're in the under 14 E side is because we don't have an F side. That's how bad you are. Try something else. You kill it and you kill the dreaming process. So my style, and I really like to encourage you to think about this, is when someone gives you an impossible dream, the very first thing you do is you say, wow. Wow. Tell me more about that. And hear the story and engage in the excitement of that possibility, because maybe it's true, maybe we don't know yet, but once you've heard the story and you've helped it get a bit stronger, the next question is, you must have a great plan. Because no one in our school, in our district, in our community has done that before. You must have a great plan to believe you'll be the first. What is your plan and how can I help you? Well, I haven't got a plan yet. I haven't thought about that yet. Okay, so where do we have to start? What are the steps and stages? Where's halfway? Where's halfway before that? So pushing it back, the responsibility of, it's a paradox. When it comes to raising talent, it's about holding the possibility of unbelievable performance, unbelievable potential, whilst being absolutely real about where you are today. Because when you are today, it allows you to find the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And the dream will allow you to have that marathon run. So sometimes people think music is an area where you either have it or you don't. Maybe you guys think that you've got the ear, or when you sing karaoke, I know I've seen lots of karaoke bars in Malaysia. Is that a big thing in Malaysia, karaoke, or is it just I've seen a lot of them? So normally people love karaoke, but no. I can't stand. It's not a great experience. But it's a great experience. Yeah. So the guy called Gary McPherson in 1997 decided to ask the question, is there something about music, is there something inside of us that makes some people really good at music and others not so much? So is there some sort of variable, is it an attitude, is it a meta program to use NLP talk? Is it some sort of style? What's going on that some kids become really good at music and some not so much? So he started an exhaustive project where he tracked 157 kids across America for 10 years. And he'd literally sit in their session and watch them play. He'd interviewed the kids, their parents, the coaches, the friends, the dogs, everyone they could about these kids and their musical instrument. Just to try and what's going on over 10 years, because by 10 years you'll find the guys at the top and the guys who are not so much. You really want to understand, because some guys are playing violin, guitar, oboe, never the triangle, the flute, all these instruments, but some got really good and some not so much. And so he looked at the research after 10 years to try to find what was at cause, and what he found was this. There was one thing at cause for everyone over those 10 years. The people who were best at music practiced the most. Welcome to the world of the incredibly obvious, as Joseph Scott would say. And if I was him, I would have been pretty annoyed by that, having worked that hard just to find something we already knew. And he was annoyed, he was frustrated. He was like, no, surely there's something else, there's some other variable, because not all the kids who practice really at a high level were at the same level. So yes, part of the equation was lots of practice, but there was something else missing. And eventually he went back and he studied his transcripts and he looked at the tapes, and he went back and eventually found that one thing. And the one thing was this. In his very first interview, he asked a young boy about, how long do you think you'll play the violin for? And he was like, I don't know. And he said, well, tell me, how long? Just as a guess. He says, well, probably to the end of high school. And wrote that down. And he started asking all the kids this, how long do you think you'll play your instrument for? And what he found was this. The kids who practiced at a high level 90 minutes or more a week and had a long view, they were going to play the instrument for the rest of their lives. They were 400% more skilled than the kids who had the same amount of practice, but were only going to play the instrument for the rest of the year. And the low end of the scale, the kids who only practiced 20 minutes a week and they had the long view, I want to play this for the rest of my lives, but I'm only going to practice 20 minutes a week. Those kids were only 66% better than the kids who had 22 minutes and I want to play for the rest of the year. So the combination of high levels of practice, of skillful performance development and the long view was the winning formula. It was the dream. The dream unlocks extra resources for potential. So to summarize, two key principles. Talent often looks like maturity, and maturity often looks like talent. It's actually not about that. Yes, there are people that are ahead of the race, but there's very little correlation between childhood prodigies and adult superstars. It's not a one-to-one. What happens is all the childhood prodigies that make it get advertised, the Tiger Woods, the Venus Williams, the Serena Williams, but for every one or two of them, there's 10 others that didn't make it, that we don't know about, they aren't in the news. There's lots of people who came from nowhere. There's a great story about a tennis agent that gets called to go to Switzerland, and he went to this game where there's a 16-year-old kid who was playing against this other kid, and during the game this kid broke 2 rackets. He burst into tears several times during the game, sat down in his chair, huffed and puffed, and got thrashed 6-1, 6-2. And this agent was called to view this particular kid as a future prospect, and he wrote the report, listen, there's no ways. This kid is emotional all over the shop, terrible behavior, there's no ways this kid's going to do anything. 2 years later, that same kid was the best under 18 tennis player in the world. We now know him as Roger Federer. So what happens is we often try to identify talent too early, and we're looking for the wrong things. So in terms of the raising talent system, it's understanding how skill development works, because that's half of the equation. And the other half is how do you push up your belief to find out how far you can go. to find out how good you can become, how big your bank account can be, how much love you can fill your heart with, how skillful you can become as a coach, a trainer, a teacher, a parent, a husband, a wife, a friend. So in terms of that, it's really important to understand how skills get developed. So this model has been replicated many times. For those of you who are hearing for the first time, it's about how skills are developed. So when you're learning a skill for the first time, like playing the violin or learning how to drive, before you start, you have this wonderful stage where you're unconsciously incompetent. You don't know how bad you are at that skill. So I remember watching Vanessa May playing violin for the first time, and if you watched her, it's a beautiful, always music video, she's always smiling, she's always really nice, she's best, and her hair's going like this, and she's just playing, she's just so graceful. And I thought, that violin, that looks easy. She just goes up and down like this, and it's just beautifulness comes out of the violin. There's no big deal there. I was unconsciously incompetent. I did not know how bad I was at violin. Now give me 5 minutes with the violin. And I got 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, where do my fingers go? And this bow thing's kind of weird to hold, and there's no frets. Guitars have frets, violin has guesses. How does this work? It goes, So I very quickly got to the next stage where now I was consciously incompetent. I now knew how bad I was at violin, and the answer was I was very bad. But now with some practice, and this might be 10, 20, 30 hours, I get to this next stage where I am consciously competent. I can do it. I can play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. But I really got to focus. I really got to concentrate, because this is hard work and there's a bit of sweat going on here. And you see this with new drivers. They get behind the wheel and they're gripping tight and they're looking straight ahead. And they're, don't speak to me, I'm driving here, as they go like 20 k's an hour down the street. Have you seen those new drivers before? They're at this stage where they've got to do it, but it's not in the body. They're really got to work hard at doing the skill. And then with more practice, they get to this wonderful stage where they become unconsciously competent. They can do it without thinking. They can drive, put their arm out the window, chew bubble gum, talk to their friend, toot, and maybe SMS at the same time. And you've probably seen drivers like that too. So what happens, the skill has dropped into the body. And this is the best and worst place for any performer to be. Why do you think it's the best and the worst place for any performer to be? Say that again? Yes, yes. Absolutely. So the inherent danger of this is you've stopped at your skill level. Let's check. Did anyone who was driving today and this last week, did anyone try to turn the corner 5% better? Did anyone try to be 4% better at changing gears? Did anyone try to be 3% better at saving fuel? Because that's kind of important these days with the fuel price. No? And the reason why is we get to a comfort zone. And when you get to a comfort zone, by definition, you're not growing. And the reason why it's the best place is because you don't have to keep on thinking about how to drive. You get behind the wheel and drive, you go. Now imagine we have to think about it every time. So this is wonderful to perform from there, but the problem is you're performing in terms of the metaphor of the race, wherever you stop to race. So you might be driving as an 18-year-old, but right now you're a 40-year-old. Because you didn't carry on developing, you didn't carry on stretching, you didn't carry on growing. So in my industry, I've been doing this for 10 years. In the beginning, I had lots of challenges because everyone said, you're too young to be here. What do you know? You're 22, you know nothing. And I said, well, there's two things. Yeah, absolutely, I don't know anything, but you know a lot and you're in this trouble. So you know a lot and you're in this trouble. So you've called me in to consult, to have a conversation, and you're the expert, and you're so expert that you're in this trouble that you need someone else to help. So I know nothing about the trouble you've created. So let's find out about it. The second question I always used to say is, I don't have 20 years of experience. But do you? Do you have 20 years of experience, or do you have 1 year repeated 20 times? And this is a real challenge because a lot of businesses like that. Think about it for yourself. Think about how you get into the same routines, do the same thing the same way, maybe even have the same meals. as a human being, we look for comfort. We go for homeostasis, just to be okay. But as self-actualizers, we go for more. But it's got to be a conscious choice to leave the comfort zone, because when you do, you get in this wonderful place called the stretch zone. And what happens when you're stretching, so for example, if you wanted to stretch and you wanted to be 4% better at saving fuel, pretty quickly you go from, I now know how bad I am at being 4% better at saving fuel. And you really have to work at it, and you really get it wrong, and you really struggle, and after a while you could save fuel, but you really got to focus on it. And when you've got that, eventually it'll drop into unconscious competence, it'll drop into your body, and what that'll mean is that your comfort zone has got a bit bigger. And what that means is now you've got to find a new stretch. And again, and again, and again. So in terms of the numbers, Anders Ericsson is the leader thinking about this way. There's some controversy around some of his numbers, but what seems to be reasonably beyond dispute is on average it takes about 50 hours to get a complex skill into the body in a level of competence. So in terms of that, if you're ahead of the race and you've got the optimization and maybe the beliefs, you might get a bit quicker and you might be more skilled at it. You might be able to play more than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on your violin. But if you're not, then you've got it, and that's great for you. Well done. I hope you enjoyed the journey of getting better. But what he says in terms of being world-class or expert, his studies talk about 10,000 hours. And there are some disputes about that, because what constitutes an hour? Is it one of these stretch hours or one of those hours? What happens if you've got existing skills? What's your learning process? What's your beliefs? So that number at the moment has been rubbished by sports psychologists and scientists, but not the principle. So we don't know if it's 10,000, it might be 7,000, it might be 5,000, it might be 4,000. It's some level of 1,000 tends to be the feedback. And you think about how long it takes you to really craft and become exquisite at a skill. It's many, many hours. So the challenge is this, is if you choose to be world class, if it's 10,000, maybe it's even more in your profession, maybe it's 15 or 17,000 in golf. It's roughly 17 years before a golfer wins his first major. 17 years of playing and practicing between starting the game and becoming a major winner. So it's even further in golf. Some areas up, some areas down. But the point is, lots of thousands of hours, and it's thousands of stretch hours. So think about this. Who in their right mind will spend that amount of time? If it's 10,000 hours, it's 4 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, for 10 years of your life. Who wakes up every day and says, I want to spend 4 hours being uncomfortable today, even though I'm tired and I didn't sleep well last night. And I've got to do this deadline and I've got this challenge. And then again, I want to get even more uncomfortable, even though I'm really uncomfortable already. And I'm going to go for it again, even though I got nailed yesterday and I failed. And it was humiliating, but I'm going to stretch again. And I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again, and again, and again, and again. So who in their right mind would do that? And the answer is the very best will. The very, very best will. And that's what sets them apart, is they're so committed to being the best. They constantly seek out discomfort. They constantly seek out stretch. They constantly look to find that extra edge. That's one of their key areas of their talent. Their talent, a big part of it, aside from the belief, the long view, and the efficient training and development, is they can spend more time there than most. And we're talking about fractions here. So for example, if you focused on being 1% better every week, in a year's time you'll be 2/3 better. So learning is cumulative like interest. So to do that you need a very, very good reason. As we heard earlier today, if you've got a big enough why, you can do anyhow. So we've got to find, if you're going to choose to be expert or become your best version of you in whatever's important for you, you've got to find what's your reason. Because if you don't know, you won't stay in. You're very unlikely to stay in. Some people do, and that's an amazing thing to see and hear. I haven't seen it very often. Find me a peak performer, and I'll find you someone who knows their reason for why they're going after peak performance. Their vision, their purpose, their mission. So I want to share with you an exercise to help you connect with yours. You might know it already, it might be rolling off the tip of your tongue, you might be able to speak it very eloquently and powerfully. But even if it's there, let's magnify, let's amplify, let's get more energy to help you move in your direction. So the question I'd like you to consider right now is, if you're going to do this for a year or 2 or 3 years, or even longer view, 10 or 15 years, if you're going to choose to be the best you can be, what will be a worthwhile exchange for you? So if you said, if I gave 10 years of my life to be the best trainer I could be, after 10 years, what will be the reward for you? Is it seeing one of your students win a Nobel Prize? Is it being recognized as a master trainer? Is it about having people bump into your world, just wanting to get to know you? Is it about being able to consistently have sold out trainings? What is that for you? So as I get sorted out, just to bring you back here, what is your reason? Because there is distractions in life, isn't there? There is things that will take you off the path. So what is your reason that I work for you? In about 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you to tell the story of the person next to you, of the movie moment, of the highlight of what's worth working it out for. You're going to tell the story about what it sounds like, what it feels like, what it smells like in that moment as you accept this award. As your audience of people rise up and give you a standing ovation, at what venue in the world? For me, at what stadium in the world? For you, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's something that's deeply personal, like it's just, I worked with a client, his goal for 5 years was his daughter was graduating, and he wanted her to look down from the stage and look in his eyes and know they were very good friends. He had the cars, he had the money, he had the job, but he didn't have a relationship with his own daughter. And that was the most meaningful thing. He was willing to do whatever it takes to grow. So this doesn't have to be in Light's goal, it's just got to be significant and important to you. So the first rule is you'll be telling the story of a movie of, not a Lord of the Rings movie, of a 30-second movie. 30 seconds in 5 years and 10 years time, that's just such a highlight for you, that you would work really, really hard to move towards. Who's there? And don't worry about what's realistic. Most of the awesome things are not realistic until they're done for the first time. Facebook, iPad, iPhone, completely nuts, but completely awesome. So we've got to find out what's possible. We actually don't know. We actually don't know. So as you find that movie, who's going to be there? What will the look in the eyes be as they look at you? What will it feel? Maybe you'll get goosebumps in that moment. Maybe you'll feel the warmth of applause just bathe you like you're in a waterfall. Maybe you'll have that bursting of pride inside where you know you've walked a path that not many could or would. What is that moment for you? So you're going to be sharing that with the person next to you, and these are the rules. 1, 30-second movie, not a Lord of the Rings movie. 2, make it awesome. If it doesn't give you goosebumps, think again. 3, tell the story from your own eyes as if you're actually there. 4, use your senses. What does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like as you get all of what you want, as you get more than your wildest dreams and desires? And what I'm going to ask the person who's listening to you, I'm going to ask you to listen like it's the most amazing thing you've ever heard in your life. Because it just might be. You don't often get a chance to hear someone's dreams. Please cherish that moment. Cherish that moment. It's a wonderful privilege. So you're listening like it's the most amazing thing. They're telling the story like you're actually living it in the picture. It's not your time to ask questions. Don't ask what actors were there. Shh, shh. It's your time to listen. You'll get your time to speak once that's done. So it'll be 5 minutes with each person. I'll call time so you don't have to worry about that. So what happens is once you tell the story and this person's listening like it's the most amazing thing, it's out there. Now the listener's going to ask one question 5 times, which I'll write up. So what does it mean to you? And as you go inside, you convert your goal into a purpose by adding the meaning. You meditate it. And it's a wonderful experience to have. Even if you've got to struggle for some of the answers, that's okay. See what you find. If you can answer 5 questions very quickly, answer 10. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? And find out what your deepest heart's desires get set on fire when you move towards that type of goal. So let me demonstrate my movie that I created 10 years ago now, where at that stage, I was a youngster, I worked 3 months in my first job. I didn't have enough money for a bed, so I was sleeping on a camping mattress, even though I worked in quite a prestigious merchant banking environment. I've been in and out of depression for 5 years, took lots of antidepressant stuff, not a lot going on in my life, lots of pain, lots of hurt, lots of anxiety, didn't like myself, not even at all. It was a real dark space, but I went to this thing called meta coaching. And I caught a vision of what was possible, and I knew I had to protect that vision because otherwise the darkness would take over. It had to be so strong, otherwise I'd go back to that other life, and that life didn't have a happy ending. And so the movie I created 10 years ago goes something like this. It's the 20th of October in 2007, and I'm standing in the middle of the Stade de France, one of the most magnificent rugby stadiums in all of Paris and possibly the world. The stadium is packed, there's 80,000 people and a wall of sound around me, but it's quiet in my head, like in Saving Private Ryan, the concussion sound, or Call of Duty for those guys who play. It just gets quiet on the inside. And I can smell on the air the gunpowder from the fireworks, and the streamers are falling down like snowflakes and landing on my head and shoulders. Behind me on a raised platform are the entire Springbok Rugby, the South African rugby team and management. And they've got their hands in the air and they're screaming and shouting, they're going absolutely nuts. Why? Because we won the World Cup. A prestigious event that happens only every 4 years. We're one of the few sides to win it, and it means the world to all of us. It means the world to the 52 million in our country. And as I stand there and soak it up, I notice my polyester Springbok tracksuit top is giving me a bit of a rash over here. But I love it because this is my Springbok rash, and I've earned it, my South African colours rash, and I'm so proud of it. And I can see in the players' tunnel my mum and dad, just above there, on the left. And they've got tears in their eyes. And I've got tears in my eyes because we walked this path together, we got here. And right next to them at the time was my girlfriend, but we broke up, so I shipped her out. But the moment she was there, and she was just looking at me and staring and saying, "I'm going to see you later, big boy." And I was pointing to her and saying, "Yes, I'm definitely going to see you later." And I was looking forward to that part of the evening. And around my neck, I have the heavy weight of a gold World Cup winning medal. And as I lean down to bite, I can tell you right now what it tastes like. It's kind of tinny, a little bit salty, but it's the most beautiful taste in the whole wide world. And that was my movie. Unfortunately, at that stage, it was way, way off. It was completely nuts. But if I had to do the exercise with me, so Tim, what does that mean for you? It means I could do the impossible in only 4 years. So if I can do that, what else is possible? So what does that mean for you? It means I better think big. It means my past won't dictate my future. It's up to me what kind of life I want to live, who I want to become, where I want to live, and what way I want to live, and what I want to do. What does that mean to me? It means I've got a huge responsibility to be the best I can be, because that's the key to unlocking the future that I dream about and I hope about. What does that mean to you? It means I better think big. If anything is truly possible and it's just a matter of work and time and technique, then I can get to choose the life I want to live. So what's the most awesome life that I can imagine? So what does that mean to you? It means I want to choose to contribute. I want to give to others those things that at times in my life I didn't feel I had, so they never have to feel the way I had. I never had that hurt, that pain, that sense of there's nothing that's possible. I want to contribute myself, my skills, my passion to help people, inspire them to choose to live the lives they want. So what does that mean to you? To borrow Steve Jobs' words, I get a chance to put a dent in the universe. I get a chance to walk a path that one day when I look back, I'll be proud of what I've done, I'll be proud of what I've achieved, and I'll be proud of how I've overcome the many, many failures of that path. So what does that mean to you? It means as I walk that path, I can honour my parents and my family for all they've been to me, that I am because of them, and if I can offer the best of me to them, it'll be a great return for all that they've given me for many, many years. And those are my meanings about my story. What are your meanings about yours? So if you don't know exactly what the movie is, just choose something that you're going for, even if it's the next 6 months or a year. Obviously, if you've got the long view, it'll give you more in terms of the energy to move towards it. So just to summarize, you'll be telling for 5 minutes, I'll manage time, you don't have to worry about that. Your 30-second soundbite, rich detail, what it smells like, what it sounds like, what it feels like in that moment, in that highlight, from your own eyes. Make it awesome. It must pass the goosebump test. And and you'll be listening like it's the most amazing thing you've ever heard in your life. It just might be. And once that's done, you'll ask the question, so what does that mean to me 5 times to help turn a goal into a purpose? Are those instructions as clear as mud? Are you ready to start that? So you've got a minute to find your partner and to choose who's going to go first. And once you've done that, I'll shout out. Your first 5 minutes of awesome dream movie making starts now. You've now had the experience of sharing with someone something deeply personal. Sharing with them perhaps something that you haven't shared before, or in ways that you haven't shared before. Perhaps never shared. So as you connect with that experience and what you got from it, is there any feedback? What was that like for you doing that?
Thank you for having me again. I'm Rosita, Dr. Rosita. My experience when I hear my husband sharing, my husband is Mazuki by the way, sharing his movie, I already know that he wants to build this school. I know it for many years already, but hearing it just now, being with him in that movie, the journey with that, is just, it just got me to say, yes, we're going to do this fast. And as I feel his passion, his wanting and his desire and wanting to have that school and his purpose, his words cannot explain. And I say, I'm going to be with him, making sure that this happens.
So if you look at the structure of what we did there is you created a movie of performance. But you want to have this performance some time in the future, and by adding the meaning, perhaps you connect with your highest meaning or your highest meaning so far about that. So you might have noticed that as you answer the meaning question again and again and again, the first few are kind of on a lower level, but the last ones can be really significant and about self-actualization, and about pride, about loyalty, about honor, about deep, deep, special and significant values. And this is the magic of metastates, is that you can easily connect with that kind of meaning with performance. And what happens is you start to create a propulsion system. You start to be pulled towards that and engage with that. And you can reignite this by playing a movie anytime you wanted to. So notice what happens now as you play your movie. As you sit here in your seats and you feel seats against you, and you find a movie that you can step inside, so that you can see what you see and hear what you hear, feel what you feel in that moment. So as you find that best moments in your movie, notice what happens when you do that. Notice what happens as you connect with that energy and that purpose and that meaning. And you can do this any time you choose to. You can also revitalize your movie, because maybe you want to update some features. Maybe you want to create a different movie for your relation than from your business. Maybe you want to see if you can add more meanings as you learn some more things, as your mind develops and your experiences expand. Maybe with that new insight you want to add that to get that extra energy towards your purpose. So we've got a purpose formula here. And now the question is, what are you going to do with it? So I challenge you to do consistently something great. To reignite, and maybe even on a daily basis, what am I doing today about that? And when life challenges you, and it's hard as life can sometimes be, get back to your movie. And if it's so hard that playing it's not enough, find the new meanings. To make your meaning so big that the problem that you face becomes smaller and smaller. And that's the structure of people with deep visions. And normally it's created from a sense of adversity, of a sense of injustice. If you think of Gandhi, Nelson Mandela and others, their environments forced them to go inside to create the deep meanings to drive them to perform at a level that we've never seen in history before. But maybe we don't always have that environment. Maybe our environment's not as difficult or challenging, but still somewhat challenging, still somewhat difficult. And you you can create that level of purpose inside of you, regardless, to push you to places that you've never been before and beyond. So the only question is, are you going to do it? Are you going to use a simple tool powerfully to impact your life? I'm very excited to share the second part of this exercise. And it's going to be an exercise that I'm going to talk through as you sit there in the audience to do it in a solo level. So just to prepare, please get a pen and paper. Please get something that you can write on, whether it's an iPad or whatever is important for you to be able to take notes on. And this will be a way to engage. So what we're going to be doing now is we've set this up. We set up your deep meaning and a picture of your performance. So the gaps are twofold. The gaps are, how do I get the skill and the confidence to do that? Is it about business? Is it about relationships? Is it about life? How do I actually, and who do I need to engage with to help me learn those skills, to help me get that experience? And that's normally quite one of the easier gaps to be able to close, because there are experts in marketing, in business, in relationships. There's a massive amount of really good books out there, and many of them are in front of the door here. But what's a bit harder is, so yes, I've got this, but what about the stuff that brings me down here? What about my deep doubts, my fears and my anxieties that I know that are there because they keep on tripping me up, but I haven't been able to overcome and move beyond them? What do I do about those? And so I want to share with you this new exercise. I call it Scanning Beliefs. It's only about 2 or 3 months old, and it's the first international audience I've shared it with, so I'm very excited to share it with you. And it's based on a few principles. The first principle is that Candace Pert said the whole of the body is the unconscious mind. Think about that for a moment. The whole of the body, the whole of your body is also your unconscious mind. So there's an idea. I'm not sure if it's true, but it's really intriguing. If it was true, what does that mean? It means that we might have beliefs in our body. We might have things like gut feels. We might have symptoms like heavy shoulders with pressure. We might feel like when we get stabbed in the back and betrayed, but it actually feels like someone might have even stabbed us in the back. We've got these wonderful metaphors in the language to be able to describe very human experiences. When people are scared, they talk about having a fear and anxiety here, and various other symptomatic parts of the body. So, for example, restless feet. Is that just a metaphor? Is there something actually going on in my feet about my future? So the question is this: so if that's true, if parts of our beliefs are meanings, especially these ones here that interfere in our body, then how do we shift them and update them to our highest and best? How do we ensure that whatever goal we're going for, all of our body, all of our unconscious mind, as much as humanly possible, gets aligned with our highest and best? How do we do that? The answer is this: we scan it in. So the structure is, firstly, I'm going to demonstrate the exercise first now. I'm going to talk you through it as the audience. Firstly, connect with something that's powerful for you. So for you, you've just created your movie. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to connect with your movie, and I'm going to talk you through really connecting with the energy of why it's so important for you to get this. And once you've done that, I'm going to ask you to imagine that you're scanning and telling every cell in your body, from the top of your head all the way down to your feet, so this is what I want. I want every cell in my body to support me with this. And as you slowly scan down this kind of speed, what you'll find very subtly, very gently, you'll get some awareness in your body where your throat might become to your awareness, or you might feel something around your face, or you might get some feeling in your stomach, or you might feel something elsewhere in your body, where your body is saying, hang on, although you want this, something over here is just saying, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not entirely aligned with that. So when you find that thing, the question is, what is that about? And by engaging your body to give you feedback, it's normally a slow answer. Which means this is that you've got to sit with the question. And just sit with it, and just sit with it. And eventually, 10 or 15 seconds later, you might get some sort of inkling. And that's what you need to write down. To get it out. Because it's there in your body, it's waiting to be found. If it's about something that's your highest and best, because by definition, you don't have it yet. So the interferences will be on the inside and the skill gap on the outside. Let's close both. So to share with you, I'm going to engage with my movie to get it really powerful again. I'm going to scan it in, and I'll talk through what I found. So in 2007, I didn't get to Paris. Unfortunately, I fell short of that goal, but I got very close where I worked with some of the Springboks who played in that game, and I was a consultant to the team, although I wasn't standing in Paris in my movie. So I failed, and it hurt. And I was devastated. I thought, what's going on? And I failed. And I realized I hadn't worked enough on the inside to become the man on the inside I needed to be. I had some of the skills on the outside, but not the being not the frames, not the identity to actually be the best I could be in that scenario. So I created a new movie for 2011, the next World Cup. And guess what? I failed that one too. But there's another World Cup coming up in 2015. So even though I've been pursuing this goal for 10 years now, and I failed spectacularly, I've achieved so much more by failing spectacularly. So the movie I've got in my mind in 2015 is my wife's there just above. The stadium's different in England where the World Cup's going to be, and I can see her, and we've got a beautiful baby boy. And it's got this picture of this blonde hair spilling over his face, even though we're both not blonde, which is quite interesting. But I see him there, and he's got this Springboks, this jersey of the team, and it's so big, he's got his little feet just sticking out of it. Just loving the moment, and he's not even looking at Dad, but he's just loving the crowd and the energy. And what that means to me is that I've managed to be able to find my life partner and walk in a path that inspires me. What that means to me is I've achieved one of my life goals, and I've learned the process of achieving goals that I can share with others. What that means to me is I've become the man that can achieve that goal. The prize isn't the goal. The prize is who I've become by chasing the big goals, by chasing the impossible. And what that means to me is I can share that with others, and that story creates advertising for others to hear how to do that. So as I connect with that meaning in my mind, which I'm going to ask you to do for you, if I had to tell every cell in my body, that's what I want, I need your support in this. As I slowly go down, I'm getting some feedback here. So what's that about? So what will I do after I get my 10-year goal? So my anxiety is that if I get that, then my life will be devoid of meaning because that's always been about for so long. So now I get some feedback. I've got 3 options. 1, do I like it? Because if it's good, great, let's keep it. 2, maybe I don't like it. I want to let it go. I want to give myself permission to breathe it out, or to drop it like you drop some heavy shopping. Say, I don't want that anymore. Or even to give yourself permission to let it go. Or I need to solve it. So maybe I need to solve this one. Yes, I would have got my big meaning, but there are other meanings in life. So as I think about it, well, yes, I would have achieved that, but then I'll go for something even more awesome than that. And as I do that, I can feel that feedback disappearing. So as I scan down more, telling every cell in my body, I want to be supported with this, I'm getting some feedback here. What's that about? I'm scared of the challenges I've got to overcome to become that man, of the confrontations, of the things in my life that I haven't fully faced yet, because I know if I do that, that sets me up to have that level of success. And it frightens me out. I'm feeling really frightened now about that. But also, as I look at it and I just notice it and I just sit with it, that's okay. It's just fear. It's just anxiety. I can deal with it, I can let it go, I can work through it, I can do whatever I want. So what I'm going to ask you to do is start to find what's in your body about this. So as you connect with your movie, spend some time stepping into your movie fully so you can see what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel in that moment. Find the best part of your movie. Find the part that shines for you, that just is so awesome. And as you connect with that, what does that mean for you? And as you connect with that meaning so fully, what does that give you? And having all of that, if right now you're to imagine slowly scanning down your body from the tips of your head all the way down to say, I want every cell in my body to be aligned with me about that. As you slowly move down, you'll notice your body will give you some feedback. As you find that feedback, it might be a sensitivity around your face, around your throat, around wherever the case is. As you focus on that feedback, ask yourself the question, what's this about? And just sit with that question and start to write down, or tap in, or type out, whatever comes up for you, just so you can fully get out of your body. And as you do that, you'll find you've got more choices. You'll find you've got options to either solve it, to let it go, to move through it. So as you slowly scan and tell every cell in your body, this is what I want, I need your support in this. What does your body tell you about that? For some it might feel like a weight across their chest, for others something in their stomach, for others something else. Sometimes it's very subtle, just an awareness. Maybe you've got nothing that's interfering with you about the goal. If so, just notice what it's like to have every cell in your body vibrating in alignment with what your deep purpose is. Whatever's right for you, just notice what you find. And as you do that, what's this about? And if it feels big, just notice it's just emotions. You might even have to step back away from it just to notice that it's there. Maybe put it out in front of you. Just something that's been holding you back, doesn't have to hold you back anymore. Something that you can, with all the skills that you've got now, with all the support that you have now, with the joy and the passion of your vision, just notice how that changes that thing. Now it's not so big anymore. Maybe less intense. Less challenging. So as you capture those thoughts and what you've got, slowly come back to the room here so we can engage just to wrap up this conversation. So what you've been doing is to get the alignment. So metastates we know, in neurosomatics we know it's about the movie that we have, the NLP movie model, and it's about the meaning we have about the movie. But it's also about, is your body aligned with your movie and your meaning? Because if it is, you're creating an extraordinary propulsion system towards your goal. How far you get is the metaphor of the run, we don't know. But let's find out how far you can get. Let's find out how awesome you can become. Let's find out how much can be unleashed in you. How you can live and move towards the life that you've dreamt about and hoped for. Because it's got to be an inside-outside job. It's got to be the purpose that drives you to engage, to get uncomfortable, to stretch, to grow, to keep on going, to fail again after that. And it's the outside thing. What are the skills that I'm missing? Who are the people that can help me? What's the support that I need? What's the lessons that I haven't learned yet? And when you combine both, that synergy is self-actualization. And if you're looking to be able to engage further in what's happening in your body and what you're finding, find a meta-coach. Find a neurosomaticist. Find someone who this is their job, to help people unlock their potential. And they'll be delighted to help you unlock yours. So as you come back to now, to today, this conversation, think about what you learned today. We learned that talent is often mistaken for maturity. We've learned that even people who start way, way back in the talent race, if they believe they can, they just might. If they believe they can't, they won't. We also learned how important the long view is, for music in particular, but in life in general. The power of dreams. But dreams often take you to a scary place where there's even the saying, if it's not scary, you're dreaming too small. But guess what? We need to deal with the fear to achieve the dream. And we tend to deal with the fear slowly and over time at a big cost. So let's make that cost smaller. Let's make that time shorter. Let's, on purpose, deal with those things now so you can move towards what's the most important thing for you. And you do that by engaging with your movie, by having that deep purpose about that. And finding out where's the obstacles, where's the blockages. Is it something I need to solve? Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's something I just need to apply my mind to create a plan. Or maybe it's something I need to let go of, because it's like my Afrikaans experience. When I found out it wasn't about coloring Afrikaans pictures. It was about something else. I need to let that go so I can unlock the rest of my race about that. If you're not working on the inside and the outside, trying to be your best becomes a long journey. When you do both, when you work on the inside and the outside, it is still a long journey, but the meaningfulness makes it go by in a flash. And that's the opportunity sitting with you today. What's so awesome for you that you're going to apply yourself to move towards in that way? So I challenge you to do that. Become the person that will inspire yourself. And if you are that person already, just take it to the next level. So when your tombstone gets written up, they run out of space to describe the things that you've done and become in your life. I challenge you. Be awesome, be awesomer. Are there any questions?
my name is Shakir. When we talk about talent management, it's more or less we have to be self-centered, forward-looking. You should be able to be independent. You should be able to detach from the other influences, from the external factors. You should stand tall, moving toward the direction with less disturbance. Secondly, you reach a certain levels of maturity that you are the one that sometimes need to help others to give more so that you get more. When you reach that level of self-awareness or self-institution, what we call it, nobody can stop you. There is no more barrier. There is no more wall. You push the limit. If the way we do things, we can see the journey to our success is clear. Because success is a journey. It never ends there. So we move forward accordingly to our level of meaning making. Because our meaning making keep on changing as we become older and we are getting more of understanding new things. Same thing, learn and learn and relearn. That's what I get out of it. Thank you.
Other questions?
Any questions? Yeah. Please pass the mic to the delegates. Thank you.
My name's Michael, Planet Earth. I realized something. First of all, I want to say thank you. Because I realized something. When you asked for the vision, I don't have one. I've achieved most of the things I've set out in life. I've pretty well gone and done as many things as I've wanted to do. So for me, the gift that you gave me was to sit down and come up with a bigger vision, come up with a bigger dream, and figure out and ask for the direction forward. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions before we close our session here?
So last words from my side is that you can contact me on Twitter and Facebook and by email. Those are my details up on the board. What I'm looking for is people's stories. Your stories about what you did with what you learned today. And I'd love to be able to celebrate them and put them on my blog and have a photo of you and to talk about your achievements where, for me, the achievements are always twofold. What is the goal that you achieved? But mostly, who you become to achieve that goal. And so on the blog at the moment, at the bottom, raisingtalentthebook.com, there are stories of sports teams, of individuals, and even business people who've taken these principles and achieved another level of success in their life. And I'd love to hear your stories to be able to celebrate them and inspire other people out there, where many people are extraordinary people, almost always start with a vision. And so in my mind, we've got a room full of extraordinary people. It's just to move a few steps closer to letting the rest of the world know.
Thank you.
I let it fall.